As you can already guess, we're going to talk about the Pentateuch written by Moses, and with us is Dr. Michael Leitman, a renowned Kabbalist. Hello. Hello. So, this is our first show about the Pentateuch, and my first question would be, as an intro, it's impossible that a historical book would be sold and published in the millions and the billions throughout many, many years. And many consider the Pentateuch as a historic book. What is it really? Yeah, it's probably the most popular book, well known by everyone, being the foundation for philosophies, ethics, economical systems, whatnot. An unending source for different narrations and pieces of music and whatnot. It's a very special book, of course, and the special thing about it, people don't really understand it, but it's the writer himself. He's special. The creator, meaning the revelation of the creator is embedded mainly in this book, meaning the revelation of the creator to man in the way that Moses felt it. Maybe from time to time I'll call him Moshe, out of habit, but this is truly a unique event in the history of mankind, this higher force that he has attained, that's hidden from us, and therefore it's called the secret force. He revealed it, and he wrote about it. Why is this force called hidden? Because we don't feel it. That's why it's called secret. And the Pentateuch talks about the revelation of the upper force. Yes and only, all the so-called holy books, meaning the books that were written by Kabbalists, those that reveal the Creator, they're all called holy because they tell us about that which is hidden from us. Holiness in Hebrew is called kadosh. Kadosh in Hebrew means also separate, unique, as if cut off somewhere, existing in and of itself. And all Kabbalists that attain this hidden part of reality wrote about this in their writings, and therefore we call these writings holy, sacred. But not that it's sacred or something, but especially because it's unique. It's outside of the boundaries of our five senses. So why did Moshe or Moses write it in a historic genre? Why confuse people? Actually, it's a cause and consequence, the sequence of the revelation of the world to man. And it is history, only it's not the history of a nation that wanders in the desert, as it says there, but it's an allegorical narration, explanation of the revelation of the upper force to a person that if in our times someone wants to experience, meaning to reveal additional sensations of the upper world, that which is beyond our world, then that person goes precisely through these states in the very same way that Moses described. So any person, by correctly reading this book, can go through all of these degrees that Moses went through and attain the Creator. Reveal Him, attain Him. Yes, this is actually the reason for our entire existence in this world, the purpose for our existence, as it says, that all shall know me from small to great, meaning all people, everyone. When you say to attain the Creator, what does it really mean? It sounds kind of mystical. If you attain that it's no longer mystical, it sounds very clear, scientific, to sense in your own senses, to feel, taste, as it says. The very same way I see you, far beyond, much more clearly, much more internally, in a much stronger contact, direct contact that fulfills all of our senses and feelings. The Creator is what? Is He a thought? Is He what? The Creator is a force, an upper force, that governs and controls our entire world. Can we say that the Pentateuch is an instruction of how to attain this force? Yeah, gradually. Yeah, and all Kabbalistic books, this is the only thing that they talk about. What else is there to talk about? And each Kabbalist adds and clarifies like any other science, that you reveal it more and more with more and more details. That's adapted for each and every generation because we change from generation to generation, and this is how we have the wisdom of Kabbalah. This is how it's formed. As opposed to other sciences that reveal our world to the measure to which we develop technologically, meaning with the help of different instruments and mathematical devices. The wisdom of Kabbalah also, in addition, demands the researcher himself to change, because you have to acquire such a sense that feels that upper world. And then with the help of that sense, a person can research the upper world, just like he researches our world with the help of our five senses. This is something very new for many, especially scientists. There's this joke that a professor of mathematics doesn't have to be a triangle, right? But in the wisdom of Kabbalah, a Kabbalist actually has to become this, so to speak, spiritual triangle. A Kabbalist, or a person who truly wants to attain what's written in the Pentateuch, he has to change himself along with the studies? Yes. And this doesn't exist in ordinary sciences. It's not a requirement. Usually sciences learn about the outer world. Yes, it's studied in the sphere of our sensations, qualities, senses that we were born with. And here a person studies about himself deeper and deeper. By changing himself, he learns about the upper force that created him. While reading this book, in the simplest way, does a person change? Before starting to read the Pentateuch, if a person wants to permeate it seriously to its inner degrees and levels, to be able to permeate through this as a historic story, this kind of romance, love story, if he wants to penetrate through all that, then he has to equip himself with a special vocabulary and a special understanding, perception. Meaning he has to put together a vocabulary, a dictionary for himself. What does each and every word actually mean? Because we associate these words with what's familiar to us from our world. And when we read this book, then by understanding what does this specific word mean in this world, I depict a certain picture. So it's a historical novel. However, if I attribute to these words the next, more inner fulfillment explanation, then their more inner meaning depicts a picture of forces, how the different networks of forces work and govern our world. Meaning, through this external appearance that the book tells me about, I start seeing, like in a puppet show, like the hands that control the puppets. So I start seeing these books. And afterwards, as I start seeing the thought, the program according to which these hands, these forces work, and up to the point where I reach the very source that I call the Creator. There are 4 such levels. The wisdom of Kabbalah talks about all of them. When you get deeper and deeper in, yes. And how can we permeate through the very first layer of the book, deeper and deeper? Okay, so let's start getting a bit deeper into the book to build some kind of, vocabulary, so we'll better understand the Kabbalistic words. What do they actually mean? This is what we actually met for today in order to serve this to our viewers. I think that maybe there's no point in immediately giving our viewers a dictionary to say a word and its commentary on the deeper level of the wisdom of Kabbalah. But maybe throughout the process of our conversation, our viewers will gradually start seeing through the external picture that's created when you read it through a bit more externalized, to start seeing the more inner picture. Why is the inner picture much more multi-layered? Sometimes it talks about the correction and change of man. Sometimes it talks about the revelation of the Creator. But these pictures don't talk about the external appearance of things, about people dressed in a body, moving from place to place and so on in this world, and something happens to them. Were this book to simply speak about the history of some ancient nation, it wouldn't have been unique, special. So let's start reading the Pentateuch, and we'll ask questions as we advance. Okay, let's do it. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Now the earth was formless and empty. Darkness was over the surface of the deep, and the Spirit of God was hovering over the waters. And God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. God saw that the light was good, and He separated the light from the darkness. God called the light day, and the darkness He called night. And there was evening, and there was morning, the first day. In the first paragraph, it talks about some kind of a light that suddenly separated the day from night. So here we already have some kind of paradox. What is it really about? It explains about the upper light, meaning the upper force, the quality of love and bestowal, complete and utter love and bestowal, meaning this force in and of itself is whole and complete, having no demand for itself in no way, but only in order to positively bestow onto everything and everyone. And this force, out of this quality of bestowal and love, has created creation. What could it create? What is creation then? If this force is the force of bestowal, then it created the force of reception, the desire to receive. This love, you mean? Yes, and these two desires exist in creation. The desire to bestow is called the creator, and the desire to receive is called the created being. And these two desires, where one has created the other, they exist together, one inside the other, one force inside the other force. The force of light, of the creator, creates as if this envelope over itself, the force of reception of the created being, the desire to receive pleasure, the pleasure that comes from the creator, that's emanated from the creator. And this structure is the whole of creation. And everything that comes afterwards speaks of the connection between them. What kind of relationships exist between them? This is the entire picture of creation. That's all there is, only these two forces. The thing is that when the upper force creates us, meaning the desire to receive, it has a plan, a program. What does it create it for? Since, from the outset, the thought of creation is to create a created being in order to delight him by this quality of bestowal and love, then what follows is that it's not enough to simply create a created being as a desire that wants to receive pleasure, but it's necessary to bring him to a state of complete and whole pleasure and fulfillment, to feel the same wholeness and completeness as the Creator does. How? It's necessary to give the created being the ability to develop, to determine himself, to want to become like the Creator and to attain this by himself. Then, this initial desire, throughout its development, will itself achieve its wholeness and perfection, and then will be able to feel and sense it. This is the plan of creation, and the final result and thought. And what happens with us, and in the upper worlds, and in our worlds, and everything until the end of creation, is the implementation of this thought. I'm reading this paragraph. I'm asking, what happens inside of me when I read it? Inside of me, what is light? Here, it says, furthermore, it talks about two qualities. At first, the light created the desire, meaning has created the earth. Earth symbolizes the desire to receive and also has created the waters, the desire to bestow. And these two desires, earth and waters, they're one opposite the other, and they're divided between them. So, just before that, I'd like to ask, it talks about day and night. What is that inside a person? Day and night, as we said, that life for me is complete darkness. So it doesn't matter if there's light or not. There could be 1,000 suns, but still, this light doesn't reach me on the inside, doesn't fulfill me. Or to the contrary, I felt light, a ray of light in life, and so on. It's some kind of a revelation, delight, fulfillment that comes to a person. This is what it means, and not the physical light and darkness. So here it's even before the creation of light, the sun and the moon, where it says, and there was evening and there was morning, the first day. What does it mean? When a person feels the feeling of lack, evening, night. Evening in Hebrew comes from the word la'arbev, erev, meaning to mix. When the different states are mixed in him, he understands, he doesn't understand, good, bad. He doesn't understand where and what, he's confused. From this confusion, he goes into the darkness, into night, and then, when he goes through these confusions and darkness, gradually, new senses for the light are created in him, and therefore there was evening and there was morning. After the darkness, after the evening, there's fulfillment, enlightenment, understanding, and this finishes the first cycle, day one. And there are many such cycles in every person that develops, just like in our world, that we always develop from a kind of confusion and misunderstanding, and then we understand, and again we don't, and again and again. But in our world, it doesn't happen so vividly like in the wisdom of Kabbalah, because in the wisdom of Kabbalah, you feel all of these confusions and lack of understandings inside yourself, the different connections and impressions and sensations, and then eventually comes light, enlightenment, revelation. It's much more powerful than in our ordinary existence. Day one, the first day, what does it mean? It's the degree of the attainment of the Creator. If in a person, under the influence of his inner work, occurred this kind of change in his inner states, evening, morning, depression, why, how, what, these questions appear, and through these questions, as he comes to the light and reveals it, he gets an answer. For him, it's already a kind of revelation. And then the next level, deeper level. So the first day is the first degree of the attainment of the quality of love. The very first one. Yeah. That it's a tiny illumination. Yeah, but still a revelation of the light inside yourself. I think that gradually our viewers are starting to understand what are we talking about. This is very emotional. Let there be a vault between the waters to separate water from water. So God made the vault and separated the water under the vault from the water above it. And it was so. God called the vault sky, and there was evening and there was morning the second day. It doesn't talk about the earth here, but about the sky. What is the sky? What does it mean? We're talking about two forces here that are one opposite the other, that are divided by emptiness. And these two forces exist in a person, inside a person. This is how he has to discover them inside himself. This is how Moses revealed inside himself this state, and this is how he described it. So he's talking about his inner state. Of course, he can't talk about what happens outside of him. What we feel inside of us. This picture of the world that we perceive is depicted inside of us. And therefore, when Moses writes about the revelation of the upper world forces, the Creator, he feels this inside himself. So this is why it's called the wisdom of Kabbalah, literally meaning the wisdom of reception, of how to absorb these upper forces inside yourself. And a Kabbalist, to the measure of his development, writes about it, meaning what does his attainment begin with? The attainment of the upper world begins with a Kabbalist starting to attain that there's the force of darkness and the force of light. And in between these two forces, there's empty space. And this is what he feels inside himself. It's still empty, not yet fulfilled by anything, and he's like hanging between these two forces, and this is the second day, meaning a deeper, more inner attainment, where on the background of the first day, he permeates deeper into what is revealed to him, and this is the second day. So in the first day, he attained, understood what day and night is, crudely said. Yes, and the second degree is more inner, more precise. Yeah, this is the space where he's in empty space, that here he already starts giving definitions, upper waters, lower waters, meaning water is the quality of bestowal, of giving. So the waters that exist above and below and in between them, empty space. Sky, air, as if. Sky here meaning a certain light that consists of these two qualities, the upper and lower, the upper waters and the lower waters, but it's like a combination of the two. And God said, "Let the water under the sky be gathered to one place, and let dry ground appear." And it was so. God called the dry ground land, and the gathered waters he called seas, meaning this is already the next deeper degree of attainment. And this is actually a much clearer and precise attainment of the upper force, which is the waters, and the lower force, the receiving force, called land. And they're divided before man into these two categories, the upper and lower forces. And man here is like a researcher, like an observer who observes these two main forces of creation. So for man, what is land and what is waters? The desire to receive is called land, earth. In Hebrew, eretz, from the word desire, meaning land and desire are one and the same, the desire to receive. And water, as we already said, is the quality of bestowal, the quality to bestow. So these two states are further separated. It's not that there are upper waters and lower waters and everything together. It's unclear how it's mixed. And in the third day, there's a complete division, separation between water and land, the forces of reception and bestowal that are one opposite the other, that are divided into these two separate force fields. And this is the next degree of man's attainment. Is it possible to say that this is something that a person feels inside himself, these two forces? Yes, because he attains it from his inner qualities, meaning by changing himself all the time. He goes through the first day, second day, third days of creation. It's not like in our world. It could take months and months until a person moves from one state to another, a gradual deepening into this system of creation. It occurs in a person only to the measure of his inner change. This is amazing when you read it this way. If you also change along with it, and you start seeing all of this inside yourself as the tremendous universe, but you start feeling the immense deepness of it. Is it possible to attain this tremendous endlessness? Endlessness means unlimited by space. Because here we're also talking about the lack of space, even though that there's the sky and the earth and something in between them, but it's not yet sky or earth. But endless means unlimited, limitless, endless, meaning without boundaries, where the attainment is unbounded. Meaning everything that I attain, I completely attain everything. There's nothing that's left with white or black spots, but completely everything. That's called the attainment of endlessness, that it's unlimited. And the third day, the land produced vegetation, plants bearing seed according to their kinds, and trees bearing fruit with seed. And God saw that it was good, and there was evening and there was morning, the third day. We're talking about as if this third degree, but he saw that it's good. that's interesting. Everywhere it says, after every day, and he saw that it's good. What does it mean? Meaning a clear degree that ends with the next following attainment, meaning a person who follows these degrees, even if it's dark, even if there's light, doesn't matter. He associates each such degree with the purpose of his development, and therefore no matter how he feels. And since all of these states lead him to the goal, he determines it as good. In this state, he adheres to the Creator with his plan of creation and all the changes that he goes through, and this is what each and every degree ends with. Meaning man attains and sees that it's good. Moses wrote about it because he attained it. But he talks about God here. He felt this inside himself because he attained it. So where he says that God saw that it's good, it's what man attains. What he attains, where he feels the Creator and adheres, connects with him, he feels what kind of pleasure the Creator experiences as a result of seeing how man goes through all of these states, coming closer to him, becoming like him. So it's good. It's like we feel in our world it's good. When we say that all shall know me from small to great, the attainment of the Creator is the greatest pleasure. Greatest. Because this is how we're created in our desire that attaining Him will fulfill us. Dr. Lightman, unfortunately, we have to finish our show. Our time's up. But I hope that we'll continue Kabbalistically reading, studying the Pentateuch, and our viewers will better and better understand that much depends on them, on their approach to how they study this book.